Speaking of 24/7 customer service, we have Jimmy Kim coming up next. He started his company with customer-centric mindset, and he started Sendlane with 24/7 customer service. When I found that out, I was just like really amazed because it just goes to show, you know, it is doable. It's possible, right? I mean, like, it's not impossible to have 24/7 customer support and 5-minute response times. And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about Sendlane in just a bit. Yeah, so let me just give you the briefest intro to Jimmy Kim. He is the CEO and co-founder of Sendlane. He is a digital marketing legend. If you haven't seen him before, he has done hundreds of different things in the digital marketing space and spoken at tons of different events. Jimmy is going to talk about Marketing Automation 101 and what it means to move beyond email marketing. Jimmy, I will let you take it away from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that introduction, Derek. Absolutely excited to be here, guys. Unfortunately, the lighting in here, I had to get kicked into this conference room. We're in the process of moving, so I'm in this room, which the lighting's a little weird for video, but I am super excited to be here, guys. Let me go ahead and share my screen here and get everything going, and we'll get going since I know time is very valuable for here today and everybody else as well, too. So let me share screen. Share the PowerPoint screen here. Cool. So you guys should be seeing a screen here. I'm going to go ahead and play from this slideshow here. So as Derek said here today, we are doing a talk on marketing automation and what it really means beyond email marketing. And this is something that opens up a little clarity, especially as an e-commerce store owner and things like that. So first things first, I'll kind of talk about myself real quick, just as Derek has. I am the CEO and co-founder of Sendlane. I've been an email marketer since 2008, so I think I'm coming into my 11th plus year now here as an email marketer. Very exciting times to be inside this space. I co-founded Sendlane in 2013, really a solution to my own marketing issues with my other companies. I own a software company and an e-commerce retail physical store myself. I was actually an early adopter of using Shopify and a lot of different things. It was a streetwear men's brand, still in existence today. I exited that company in 2017 after growing that company several years. And then, oops, I don't know why that came out funny, but just to talk a little bit about Sendlane real quick, we've acquired a little over 50,000 users, content creators, e-commerce brands, SaaS applications, and digital performance agencies is who we specialize in. And one of the things that we key differentiate ourselves is that we run a 24/7 product support specialist team completely out of San Diego. We run, actually, what Derek said, we actually run a little bit under a 3-minute response time 24 hours a day, and they are all 100% in San Diego, so you're never dealing with some kind of weird outsourced team or somebody who doesn't understand it. We actually make it a point that people come into the office. I know we're talking about customer-centric, and it all derives from a book I read in 2011 called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh of Zappos. And ever since then, I've always stayed very customer-centric and being able to make sure that our businesses are served. And then one of the big key specialist things that we do here is we offer a white glove management approach when it comes to your account management services. Now, let's jump into real quick what we're talking about here. We're really talking about email marketing and the customer journey when it comes down to your e-commerce and how you're probably doing it right now. And of course, what really is coming out in the future and why you need to do it. I've got stats, I've got different things, I've got some actionable steps as well too. So in this time, we'll do this, and hopefully this is recorded because I know I do talk fast. So you might want to come back through here and take a second or third look at it as well too. And I see the chat coming as well. So I'm going to check chat to see. Okay, go. All right, awesome. All right, so let's just talk about your current customer journey when it comes to your e-commerce store. Obviously, you probably start off with creating a web form or some type of integration where you're bringing in information. Usually that information is collecting your buyer or lead's name and email, and you're probably sending out newsletter and coupons each and every day. And that's usually pretty good. And that works at the early stages when you're kind of coming into this space and realm of being able to talk and think about what it is to communicate with those customers in an email. But one of the things that people I think poorly forget is it's not always about that lead acquisition side of things, but it's also about how you're nurturing them, how you're engaging them. So as we talk today, what we're going to learn today, there's three things that we're going to really talk to. First, we're going to really talk about what marketing automation is versus what email marketing is. Got a little case study to talk about what it means to be going beyond basic email marketing, and the three must-have marketing automations that you need to be setting up in your e-commerce stores. Those are abandoned carts, product recommendations, and customer retargeting. And we'll get through and deeper into that conversation as we get into that as well too here today. So first things first, let's talk about marketing automation. It's really about connecting your web, social, and your communications into one place where you're collecting that information. And this is a little bit like a CRM, but it's not really a CRM. It's really about being able to tie it together. And people have different parts that kind of come into point here. But what I like to always say is when you're connecting those, it's all about being able to collect data and being able to nurture their buying cycle. So got a nice little illustration. So from the day the person becomes a visitor or so, to the day they come to your store, to the day they've either made a purchase, they've made an opt-in, to that communication, to of course the repeat buying cycle that comes behind an e-commerce store as well too. Your goal is never to have a person come into a store once and just talk about what you guys are doing, but really about how you're able to communicate with them, nurture that lead, and get them to come back and pull their credit card out a second time or a third time to really talk about, to get those people to make that second buying decision. And that works through different ways. And I talked about it earlier. If you're doing just newsletters about new product releases or sales that you're having, that obviously still works fantastic. But the reality is you can do it better. And that's what I'm here today to tell you about, how we can do this journey better by having all this information, connecting your website, your e-commerce store, to your social media side of things, to your advertising, and of course, to your communications, and how that ties in very well together. So let's start off with a simple case study, really going beyond the basic email marketing side. So the old way, and the way that still works today, but it's considered ineffective because of the evolution of technology that's available here today. We start talking about how contacts get a generic, impersonalized communication. And what that results in is loss of interest of repeat buyers. You're not understanding what your customers' wants, needs, and interests are. And of course, you lose touch with your customer buying signals. And so you know that it's important when you know when someone's raising their hand, they visit your site, what their purchase history is. As a business, most people have enough KPIs to really understand, okay, these are what people need to do. But when you're not effectively being able to deliver that connection, where you start to lose that connection is exactly because you're not creating enough data. Right? So now we talk about the new way, how these works, and then I'll show you stats that kind of prove back behind what actually comes through this, right? So the first thing coming in is contacts need to be hyper segmented. Talk about based on location, purchase history, purchase price, how many website visits, and that all allows you to tag and identify each action of each unique customer, segment users by their behavior, and send personalized dynamic messages based around what they're most interested in. And of course, create that behavioral-based automation funnels and use cross-channel communications to reach your customers anywhere and everywhere. And what that means really is based around their actions, and we'll get deeper into that in just a little bit here later on in this presentation, what I mean by behavioral-based automations. I'm not talking about, again, when they opt in or when they make a purchase, but really based on what they're doing. And that could be talked about in email retargeting, that could be talked about in the way that you do. And all the goal here is to make sure that you can reach them, and though it may be through email, through SMS, or wherever else you need to communicate them through. And all that leads to analyzing and optimizing your marketing efforts with real-time analytics and having that real-time analytics and data to support your decisions the entire way. So the new way and the results behind those new ways really is all about this. So, what we found is that 77% of the ROI that comes from e-commerce stores are really truly targeted from segmented targeting and trigger campaigns. What that means is people are making actions or things that are happening, and it's not coming from these newsletters or campaigns that you might be sending, but based around real-time, one-on-one type of interaction that you're creating, where you're able to communicate with those users because they did something on your platform. They made an exact purchase. They made an exact website visit. They visit your website a certain amount of times. It can be a lot of different things that kind of put that together. Then from there, the marketers have noted that there's a 760% increase in revenue from segmented campaigns. What I'm talking about is very simple at the high level. You take somebody and you send this newsletter blast to your 20,000, 50,000 subscribers on your list that have either opted in lead, but instead you say, hey, I want people who have been purchased a certain amount of products or certain products that are congruent to my new product that I've released, or you're doing a product recommendation and saying, hey, I just bought this phone. I need to sell them the phone case, and then I need to sell them the little pops widget on the back of it. And if you're putting people through a very congruent sector of product recommendations as an e-commerce brand, you'll find a 760% increase versus the standard newsletter and campaign blasting. These segmented and targeted emails can help you generate over 58% of your revenue. So what's important here is that you understand that this is people in your revenue. So I look at some of our larger brands, they're doing $40, $50 million a year, and they attribute that 58% of their revenue comes from their follow-up, their customer communication, and continuous communication. Top of the funnel, great to make sure that you're bringing and driving those leads, but that repeat buying cycle of continuing to be able to talk to your customers and being able to bring them back in. And then, of course, that relevant email drives 18 times more revenue than that simple broadcast email. Again, that comes back to all the different stats that we've done. So that's where the new way really becomes much more effective in using a true marketing automation and not being stuck in the old sector of just being an email marketing. Email marketing is very single focused. It's not collecting all the data. It's not bringing in all the information. All you're doing is being able to say, okay, they put their name and email in there. They made a purchase or a lead. Now we're going to send them some emails, a drip campaign, a drip automation, whatever it is. All work just fine, but there's ways to be able to improve it without the heavy cost that comes behind it as well too. Super easy implementation and being able to really truly understand your customers so that you can automate your entire process. So let's talk about the 3 must-haves for automations. These are the 3 things we recommend to each and every customer that comes through. Our account managers make sure that each customer is coming through these processes and making sure that there's, for example, their Shopify stores has these 3 setups set up. And then from there, it allows us to really be able to dive into their system and try to understand and be able to automate more for them. So the first thing, let's talk about the abandoned cart. Obviously the most important topic here because I want to show you some stat, how it works, best practices, and of course the goals that you're setting behind them and how those work. So first things first, how does it work? Right? The e-stats, right? E-commerce companies who send multiple abandoned cartons are likely to increase that purchase from decision to purchase by 2.4 times likely to get that sale as well. So obviously, just to talk about it, just to understand at the high level, visitor who's also subscribed to an email list or they put their information in for that cart, adds an item to their shopping cart but does not complete their purchase. Email is automatically deployed. Obviously, there's a follow-up sequence. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then, of course, this prompts the person to come back and complete their purchase. I talk about that at a high level just in case anybody doesn't know what truly an abandoned cart is. But that's it. They fill out the form. You might be on your email list as well. They forgot, so you need to go ahead and make sure you're bringing them back. And then, of course, you're getting them to complete their purchase. All right, so best practices and timing to set up a perfect abandoned cart email. Let's talk about it. So fact number 1, 20% of shoppers convert if the company reminds them within an hour regarding their abandoned carts. So I know people always worry and concerned that, oh, I communicate or over-communicate to people. I talk to people too much. Or I might want to sit there as well. You know, that's something that, you know, you want to think about as a metric, but you have to realize that 20% of those shoppers will automatically convert within an hour if you're communicated to them immediately. So you want to send that first reminder in 10 to 30 minutes of after abandonment. You want to send 2 to 3 emails or communications, either SMS or email, within the next 4 days of abandonment. It's very important that you've got that at a minimum, if not more. I've seen people do more and have success and people do less with success. Obviously, it depends on what you're selling, your price points, how your customers' life cycles look like. All that data that you're collecting through a great marketing automation tool is going to allow you to make sure that you have all the key indicators to know when that next email needs to go out. And obviously, you want to always be constantly testing this to see how that all works. All right. So the thing that we have to make sure, and something we talk about when it comes to automation that's super important, is really thinking about how that goal is set. So one of the things that people fail to think about is that, okay, I want to set up that communication, I want to set up that flow, but the one thing they don't think about is whatever actually ends at the end of that automation. So we talk about setting that automation goal early and being able to build inside of it. So where historically people think about, okay, if I set up an automation, I need to set it up until I'm done and then set up whatever that goal is or whatever the exit is. But what you should be doing is thinking about how that goal really aligns with your entire automation thing. So what I'm talking about here is making sure your final destination of your lead or customer triggering to the end of that automation signal, signaling your automation to stop. So one of the biggest problems we always see is people will have a great system like, a more legacy platform, and they'll set up their drip campaigns for these. But where they fail is that they continue these communications even when that action or goal has been set. And we'll talk about goals a lot throughout this time because it's one of the things that we truly believe in is the best way to handle that customer experience so that customer doesn't feel inundated by emails or SMSs and they don't feel like they're being over communicated to, but communicated at the right time, at the right moment, with the right message every time. So that's what we talk about. So examples of some goals you have: a checkout, a purchase, a product upgrade, a webinar opt-in, a download. It could be anything that comes into those goals. Setting those goals are what's important. It's not about what the goal is, but making sure that you're able to spot that goal when it comes down to it. So here's what we recommend our clients when we talk about our abandoned cart side, right? Shopper abandons the cart. Obviously, wait up to 1 hour, depending on where you want to set that. Obviously, deploying that first email, and you'll see what all these lines start to really connect in a second. Then you're going to wait about 12 hours behind that, and you're going to go ahead and deploy email number 2, and then you're going to wait another 12 hours behind that, deploy SMS number 1. One of the things that we talk about is where SMS is very intimate. So making sure that you're not overusing SMS, but making sure that there is a deployment of SMS, because you'd be surprised how many people come back through an SMS. And then, of course, waiting another 48 hours and deploying that final email. Now, what you're seeing here on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, all these lines that are developing, is that there's always a goal set on the bottom. That's what that goal on the bottom is. And each and every time, you need to make sure your system is checking if that goal or that purchase has been accomplished. And then, of course, the opt-in at the end. If they don't buy over those, and they've said that, yes, you can still send marketing emails to me, we'll make sure that you can push them automatically to some type of general newsletter where you can segment them and send in the right product upgrades or whatever you want to set them to through your automation. But this is what we recommend as a business that deals with 1 billion emails a month right now, and how this information is able to curate the best ROI with your customer. All right, so the second thing we talked about that you need to make sure you're having set up inside of your automations is really product recommendation. So in this part of this module, we're going to talk about building your avatar, what to expect, and the goals that you should be setting behind those avatars as well. And what product recommendations mean, obviously at the high level, is when a person makes a purchase, a lead, how you're able to curate the right product for that right person to make sure that they're buying based around what you've noticed, based around their buying signals, right? So really understanding your customer avatar is one of the most important things that you really have to think about. So a detailed profile of your ideal customer base based on market research and the data from your existing customers and how they are buying. Then you want to ask yourself, is this message relevant to the wants and needs of each individual customer, or is it too generic? Are you talking about at a high level, or are you pinpointing down to the user, right? Hey, you purchased the iPhone. I really want to sell you this case, and I want to sell you, and then I really recommend this case to protect your phone, and then this pop socket on the back of it to make sure that you can hold your phone and use your phone at the desire. So creating that relevant journey and relevant information is how you understand your customer journey and understand your customer avatar and be able to communicate them where they feel like you're truly giving them a true experience. Just like if you're in a store, the biggest thing that people forget when they're sitting on an online or e-commerce brand experience versus being on a physical store is that at a physical store, you buy this phone, the first thing they offer you is, hey, don't forget to protect it. And oh, by the way, let me give you that user experience by making sure you have this pop socket on the end of it to be able to hold your phone and be able to use it at the max ability to use it. But in an e-commerce store, obviously there's product bumps, there's product upgrades, but when you don't have a salesperson sitting there and telling them what to do, where customer journey comes into and where digital marketing automation comes into play is being able to make sure that you're giving them that true experience at the end of the day. One of the things I always tell people in our businesses and our clients is very simple. We always say, hey, if you were on the other side of that email, right, as a person who's interested, obviously, if you are an employee or you're owned or whatever it may be, your interests are in the company that you're learning for right now, You got to put yourself in your own shoes. You're just as passionate as anybody you want your customers to be. Would you be happy with the emails that you're getting or the SMSs that you're getting? And most of the time you ask that question and people go, no, I think I probably emailed them too much, too little, or not with enough relevant information. So this is where you need to really, truly understand your customer avatar. And that's all done through segmentation. So we're talking about segmentation of what sites they visited, what they've purchased, what products, information, geolocation, all that information really helps target down to what that user is going to be interested in. That helps you build your customer avatar so that you can make sure you're sending them the personalized content. So that all comes from data-driven decisions based on that purchase history and sitemap. And so what that really means is deploying targeted, personalized product recommendations, enticing your new customer to buy again. And that all comes from, hey, where did they go afterwards? What did they buy? How much did they spend? Where are they located? And what's most relevant to them? And then that also allows you to nurture all your leads and customers with a multitude of automated, personalized communication, increasing your customer value at autopilot. And it creates a well-nurtured brand experience by increasing your value of each and every customer throughout your funnel. So it's all about getting them down to the macro of having one customer and being able to talk to each customer along their journey to make sure that they are actually being sent emails or communications through things that they are doing. Even down to, I heard a chat about customer service here. It's just a second ago, even down to raising their flag and raising flags or tags inside of Shopify, for example, and saying, hey, this person reached out to visit. Let's deploy in 24 hours. Saying, hey, thanks for visiting and communicating with our customer service. Just to say thank you for taking your time to talk to us. Here's a 10% off coupon to make sure that you can complete your purchase or find the right item for you. So making sure that knowing that data and the decisions that come with that data that you guys are collecting is being able to be personalized and creating that personalized experience, right? So making sure, again, to set up your goals, right? Setting up your goals to drive that repeat buying cycle is so important when it comes to thinking about what marketing automation really can do for you. So when your new lead converts, they've completed a purchase, you usually have two options. So the option number one, you want to either end the automation or send them down a second funnel designed to nurture them through a repeat purchase by sending relevant communications based around what you already know, what they're most likely about to buy and engage with as well too. So that happens obviously knowing what they purchased and creating micro segments immediately and automated through your system. And then the second part is ultimately maximizing your overall customer lifetime value. So obviously when a person is most likely to buy, there's statistics out there to show that when they buy, it's the best time within that first 30-day frame to get them to buy again. And that's how you truly increase it. Obviously it depends on your product, depends on what you're selling and when your price points as well too. But in a general sense, it's all about how you create that repeat buying cycle to increase that LTV. So last but not least in the automation segment, and one of the places that I really truly believe that people are missing out in their e-commerce is really about customer retargeting. And I'll talk about retargeting just in case people don't know what it is, but I will really talk about how it's done and what works best for the business when it comes down to e-commerce business. So first, what is retargeting? Same thing as remarketing. Retargeting is a form of online advertising used to get your website visitors to come back through different forms of paid advertising and email marketing. And this is all accomplished through a simple pixel, right? And then so when a person is brought back, this is a fact, obviously, a person is back, they're 70% more likely to convert when they're brought back to your website through retargeting. So what does that really mean and how does that work in email retargeting, right? So first things first, the visitor who's also a subscriber on your email list brings your visit your website. Remember, this is a customer journey, so it's important that you're thinking about this as people, how do you create more repeat buying cycles for your customer? So from there, the visitor comes in, the visitor learns about your product, but ends up leaving because they didn't take an action, like they didn't opt into a form, make a purchase, view a particular page, certain link, whatever it may be, all that happened, and you're collecting that information so that you know what that user did. So maybe they came and looked at this phone, and I come back because it's the only thing handy to me, but they looked at this phone 4 times, but they didn't actually make the purchase, right? But you know that they're a customer who's made purchases with you in the past, or they've been on your list for a while, getting your newsletters. Now you want to be able to target that person and say, hey, come back. You left this, you didn't buy, you visited a page 4 times, but come back and buy this and I'll give you a 10% off coupon, or I'll throw in a free case, or whatever it may be to get them. So really having that retargeting cycle is super important when you're thinking about how to bring that person back and how to bring that person to want to be a part of it. And you see companies like eBay or CNN or any of these large companies out there, especially e-commerce core companies, will always be doing that. So you'll be going in there, you'll add 3 things to your cart and you'll leave, but you didn't put your email or do anything there. You just went ahead and looked at it, and you got 3 dynamic campaigns that said, hey, thanks for looking at this, thanks for looking at that. These little retargeting tricks aren't really hard anymore, especially with the technology that's available out there. But what you can do in your marketing automation tool is being able to sync people and being like, hey, if customer A visits my site and they look at here and they leave here, we want to make sure that we're deploying these retargeting campaigns so that people are coming back, so you can get those people back. Because getting a person to your website is just hard enough, but getting your person to come to your website and then come back and back again when it comes to e-commerce stores, since their value ends the day they make that purchase usually, and they don't come back that often, that's where it becomes really important. So nurturing those people through the cycle when they visit your site, again, it's really important to be on top of that to make sure that you're staying on top of it. So let's recap real quick. 3 must-have automations that you should absolutely have in your system. Obviously, 1, abandoned carts, potentially retrieving potential lost sales by bringing potential customers back to your site to complete a purchase. You've got your product recommendations, sending relevant communications. I always say communications because I think that if you're only using email right now, you're really limiting yourself. You should at least be using SMS as a second. Obviously, there's a lot of great other chatbots and other things that you can be using as well too, but truly email and SMS is the communication channels that you should be always thinking about to make sure that you're increasing your overall customer lifetime, and then bringing back people through email and SMS retargeting, bringing those people back to your site to complete your desired action, in most cases a purchase or repeat buying cycle. All right. So one last slide here. It really talks about why marketing automation. We really think about how you facilitate a personalized conversation with your end client at a high volume or at scale. And these are things that are really important to think about when it comes down to it. Let me just go here. It provides a unique and useful content to help nurture and build loyalty, convert your leads to customers, and even grow your brand champions from your repeat customer base. So you're thinking about how to increase your money inside of your customers and leads that you have today. It's a perfect addition to strategize by tying all your marketing efforts together. So things like, hey, let me stop an advertising here. Let me deploy my second advertising here. Or let me go ahead and recommend the correct products here. And I see my chatbot lighting up, but I'm going to talk about that in just a second here. So last things last, just as we wrap it up, I know I only have 30 minutes. One of the things that really help people try to understand exactly what's going on, and we've got a great ebook available that's absolutely free. I put the link here at sendlane.net. Obviously, it's a tracking link. That /scale ecom19. If you go there, you'll go to a page, and it'll allow you to go on that page and grab my book that I wrote about really understanding the difference between what email marketing automation, and I even talk about other technologies available as well. It's it's not Sendlane agnostic. It's really thinking about how we do it, how we think about it, but also other people, how they think about it as well too. Second part of it is when you fill that out, one of our email experts will reach out to you, offer you a custom tailored demo if you'd like of our platform, and see how we can increase your ROI and LTV 100% automated. And if you'd like to reach out to me directly, there's my email address, jk@sendlane.com. And then I'm going to go into your questions right now real quick, Derek, if I have a chance, just to answer, field any question as well. Let's see here. Holy crap, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's some chat in here. I think the number 1 question is from Dave on a buy or die type of email campaign. I'm not sure I know exactly what that means. And then one other one from Jeremy talking about the difference between abandoned cart and abandoned checkout.
All right, so we'll start with Jeremy. Abandoned cart and abandoned checkout. Checkout start is a very different metric to add to cart, right? Yes and no. It's still the same dynamic action. So it doesn't matter if they've abandoned cart or abandoned checkout. One just means they've gone further. So you can segment and layer that in a good automation form and say, did they abandon cart or did they abandon checkout? So abandoned checkout is they visited a certain page, added to cart, did not purchase. But the metric is still very similar when a person actually says, yes, I want to add that to my cart, or yes, I want to buy that. So that's something to think about. And then what was the second question, Derek?
From Dave on buy or die type of email. Oh, I think that means just saying like, hey, if you're not going to buy this, I'm going to remove you from my list.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a whole different topic to think about, but that's all thinking about, it's all thinking about, I guess, inactivity and bringing people out of your list. So that's a whole different topic to think about. But no, this wouldn't be anything to think about buy or die type email campaigns in a web in an e-commerce type environment. Unfortunately, buy or die lists die a little bit faster. Email lists do die a lot faster than you do because you're generally dealing with more of a B2C type consumer, and B2C consumers usually get a lot of emails. So if you're not staying relevant to them, you're generally going to go ahead and lose that connection as well too. Series of emails somebody has to do a type of activity escalates promotions. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay. All right, cool. Any other questions, please do not hesitate to email me directly, jk@sendlane.com. Or again, if you're interested in that book, sendlane.net/scale ecom 19, you can grab that book. It's a great book. It's like 23 pages. It'll take you half an hour to read if that, but really can open your eyes up to what the difference between what email marketing is and what marketing automation truly means as well too. And without that, thanks, Derek, for having me here today. Hopefully people enjoyed this conversation here today, and thank you guys for letting me share.
Of course, Jimmy, thank you so much. And thank you. I know it was tough to squeeze that down to 30 minutes. He originally was like, do I have like 2 hours, 3 hours? I was like, Jimmy. But that was amazing. Jimmy, thank you so much.